Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over my picks for the top 10 pickup trucks in GTA Online. Now, it's been a little over a year since I've made one of these videos, and in that time we've got like 2 new trucks into GTA Online, which is not very good. And at the beginning of the last pickup truck video, I called out ROCKSTAR and said that we should have more pickup trucks added into the game. And to their credit, we have had, one in 2 of the 3 DLCs that have released since that last video that I made on this same topic. So we have got a couple new ones in the game, which of course will be included on this list, which is a good thing. But that does not mean our work is done. We still need more trucks in GTA. Only having, a handful to make like a top 10 list is not really that great. We don't really have that many. So anyways, with that being said, we do have a pretty good list on our hands today. Now, if you guys enjoy this style of content, consider dropping a like and subscribing if you are new. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start off with number 10. At number 10, we have the Declassy Walton L35. And the reason that this thing is at number 10 is because of the price that it costs. It comes in at a whopping $1,670,000, which is a pretty crazy amount of money for the truck, because it's not the greatest performing truck ever. However, I will say I do like it very, very much. The livery options for this thing are pretty great, as well as most of the customization options make a lot of sense and are pretty nice to be able to put onto the L35 itself. It's got a pretty good lift, so it does have a decent amount of ground clearance on it. However, you can lower it down quite a lot, which is also nice to be able to do. I just wish that we had lift kits in the game so we could raise trucks up even more and also be able to put wider tires and things like that on them. I think that that would be pretty sweet. But nonetheless, the Walton L35 is a pretty decent truck. It is all-wheel drive, of course, so it does accelerate off the line pretty well. It's pretty good at climbing and rock crawling, things like that. Overall, the L35 is a decent truck, and it is definitely one that I would recommend, just not so much as the vehicles ahead of it on the list, because it is really expensive, like almost $1.7 million for a pickup truck with no utility, like no Imani Tech missile lock-on jammer or anything of the sort. Kind of crazy to me, but still it is a cool truck, I will say. At number 9, we got the OG Vapid Sand King XL. Now, you could technically put the SWB here as well, depending on which one you like more. I kind of like the SWB more, but I feel like the XL is a little more iconic, which is why I put it on the list. The XL goes for $45,000. The SWB is a little bit less. Either way, you can steal both of them off the street and just put them in your garage, put some insurance on them, and they will become your personal vehicles. The Sand King XL actually has some pretty decent customization, as I'm sure everybody who's watching this knows. I think everyone who's ever played GTA has owned a Sand King XL at one point or another, because it is just such an iconic truck, of course. So, classic, got tons of ground clearance. It honestly has quite a bit of customization for how old this thing is. Considering it's a 2013 vehicle, it's pretty crazy what you can actually do to the Sand King XL and the SWB alike. Both these trucks are really, really awesome, and honestly, there's not a whole lot more to say than that. For how cheap they are and for the fact that you can steal them off the street and put them in the garage, they're awesome vehicles. And that's it, and that's what I'm going to end off on with the Sand King XL. And the SWB for the record. At number 8, we got the Vapid Riata coming in at $385,000. Now, for $385,000, this thing is a pretty awesome vehicle. However, of course, it is a removed one, so you cannot purchase it all the time. You gotta wait for it to be in a dealership, or you can purchase it from another player. However, I also do think it is an auto shop customer delivery vehicle, so you can technically purchase it through your auto shop if it were to come in. So that is another way to get the Vapid Riata. This thing does have a lot in the way of customization, actually. It's pretty impressive, and it's got a lot of ground clearance, and it's pretty good looking, I will say. It's based pretty heavily off of the Ford Bronco, I do believe it is, from the 70s or 80s. This thing's pretty decent off-road, it's pretty decent on-road, it's quite fast, and generally I would say that the performance and customization is insanely good for only $385,000. Really, really not bad. This is one that I would recommend picking up whenever it comes back into GTA. Of course, you can seek somebody out that you can purchase it from, or obviously there is the chance that it's in your auto shop, like I said. The Riata is a really cool vehicle though, definitely one that I would recommend picking up. I just wish that it had a slightly longer bed, because the bed on this thing is very, very short. But other than that, I mean, it's really, really cool. At number 7, we get the Bravado Bison, purchasable for $30,000, or of course you can just steal it off the street, which is exactly what I would recommend. The Bravado Bison is an interesting truck because it is actually technically a 6-seater, because it does have the 4 seats inside, but it's also got 2 boxes in the bed of the truck, which people can sit on. However, you do need to be careful of this, because if you do have people sitting on those, they can go flying out of the truck if you get airtime, and if the thing goes upside down or anything kind of close to upside down, those guys are going to come out. So just be mindful of that. Also, doesn't have anything in the way of customization, which does really, really suck. I think that is a big misstep by Rockstar. I think it's kind of an oversight, because the Bravado Bison definitely could have had some cool customization, even if it was just a headache rack and like a bull bar or something like that. That would have been a major improvement over literally nothing. So that's something that Rockstar could definitely improve on with the Bison, but nevertheless, it is still a very good vehicle. And for being a vehicle you can just take straight off of the street, you really cannot go wrong with picking up a Bravado Bison. It's honestly a pretty awesome truck, all things considered. But yeah, I do wish it had a little bit in the way of customization. Unfortunate, but nonetheless. It's also a pretty fast truck. In a straight line, this is actually one of the faster trucks in GTA Online, I do believe. It feels pretty good. It does also feel like it's primarily rear-wheel drive, but it is technically all-wheel drive. I just think that about 90% of the power goes to the rear wheel. So unfortunately, it's not going to be like the best at off-roading or climbing or anything of the sort, but still a cool truck. At number 6, we have the Vapid Caracara 4x4, coming in at $875,000, which is a pretty reasonable price, all things considered. The Caracara 4x4 is definitely one of the faster trucks on this list. I've just placed it a little bit higher on the list because of its price point, and it's not that exciting. Like, it's a cool truck, don't get me wrong, but it is just another Vapid truck, and we have a lot of Vapid trucks in the game. So nothing too crazy with that, but the customization is absolutely awesome for this thing. There's a lot that you can do to it, which is really, really neat. And overall, the Caracara, I mean, like, it's pretty decent for racing. It's pretty good for hill climbing. It's pretty good for off-roading. It's pretty good on-road. It's even good at going through water and things like that. And obviously pairing this with the customization that it does have and everything like that, you've got a pretty good truck on your hands. The only thing that pisses me off about the Caracara 4x4, and I talk about this every single time that I talk about this vehicle, is this thing is just too skinny. The actual cabin of the truck is too skinny. It's got the pretty wide fender flares, and overall it looks pretty good. But if it was just like literally 3 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches wider in the actual cab of the truck itself, I think that the Caracara 4x4 would be a lot better looking. However, it is still a very good looking truck, and I definitely think that you should own one if you don't have one already. This thing's awesome. Don't overlook it. Number 5, we got the Karin Everon for $1,106,250 to $1,475,000. The Karin Everon is based off the Toyota Arctic Exploration truck that was largely made very famous by the Top Gear series. The Karin Everon, though, is an awesome vehicle to have in GTA. And if you're confused about where to buy the Karin Everon, that's because it's under the luxury section on the Southern San Andreas Super Autos website. So that is something to keep in mind. Make sure you're looking in the luxury section on the website there, because that is where you're going to find the Karin Everon. Not under the off-road section, not under the four-door section, but no, the luxury section. Makes little to no sense, but that's where it is if you're looking for it. It's also got a lot of customization, and overall, I think it's a really good looking truck, and it's very unique in my opinion. It kind of looks a lot different than most of the other trucks in GTA Online, in all honesty. The Everon is pretty good when it comes to off-roading and rock crawling, things like that in particular, because it does have some massive wheels on it, as I'm sure you can tell. Now, the Karin Everon is a little on the expensive side, kind of similar to the Walton L35, but I do feel like the Karin Everon is a lot more worth it than the Walton. So for all these reasons, I would definitely say to pick up a Karin Everon. It's an awesome vehicle and you will not be disappointed. And number 4, we got the Vapid Guardian for $375,000. This is a pretty OG vehicle in GTA Online, and it's based off of like the Ford F650, like just a crazy big trucks, and it honestly reminds me a lot of Ironhide from the Transformers series. But anyways, the Vapid Guardian, pretty cool vehicle. The coolest thing about the Vapid Guardian by far, I would say, is the price point of only $375K. That's not a bad price to pay for how good of a vehicle this thing actually is. But the Vapid Guardian can also traverse in water all the way up to the tops of the stacks that stick up above the vehicle, which is pretty damn cool. So you can take this thing into the water and not have to worry about much of anything. And I think that that is probably the most underrated feature of the Vapid Guardian, or maybe not even underrated. I feel like that is a pretty well-known feature of the Guardian, but hey, I'm sure I'm gonna teach somebody something by saying that. It's also got a little bit in the way of customization, not very much at all. Kind of similar customization in some ways to like the Sand King XL, but that's about it. Overall though, really cool truck, and the fact that you can go in the water with it is a huge added bonus. And definitely one of the coolest features about the vehicle itself. It's not the greatest for climbing, it's not the greatest for general off-roading just because it is such a big vehicle, but despite this you can still get around pretty much anywhere that you're going to need to be able to go in the Vapid Guardian. Next up at number 3, we got the Declasse Yosemite 1500. This is a brand new vehicle from the most recent DLC, costing $1,205,000, which is relatively kind of cheap for a new vehicle in GTA, and of course it's based off of the Chevrolet or GMC 1500 crew cab from the early 2000s, probably up to about 2006, maybe even the late 90s as well, included in that sort of range. This thing is really sweet. I wish that the customization was better and I wish that it had wider wheels, but other than that, this thing is an absolute rocket off-road. It's super, super quick off-road and it's very capable. It is all-wheel drive and it reminds me a lot of the Vapid Caracara 4x4 in the way that it drives. It's just very confidence inspiring. It gets a lot of grip and the all-wheel drive works very well. The 1500 is just generally an awesome truck. Some of the customization options kind of confuse me. They're not the greatest that I've ever seen, but overall it is still a very capable truck, and I do think it is one that is genuinely worth picking up as far as the trucks go on this list, especially if you're looking for decent performance on top of, you know, being in a cool truck package. This thing's awesome and I would definitely recommend it for, you know, a little over $1.2 million, which is, you know, not a whole lot in GTA these days. You really cannot go wrong with the 1500. It's an awesome vehicle. I would definitely say to get it. At number 2, we got the Vapid Contender for $250,000. The Contender is just a legendary truck in GTA. It is technically an SUV. It's classified as an SUV in GTA, which is like the most confusing thing ever to me. But even though despite this, it is still definitely a pickup truck. It does have one customization option, and that is to be able to put a canopy on it, which I definitely don't recommend, but you can do it if you do choose to. The Contender's awesome on-road, it's awesome off-road, it's super fast, and for only $250K, the performance that you get out of this thing is pretty crazy. I think that is largely due to the fact that it is within the SUV category. I think it's kind of overperforms for what it is. Which is realistically, you know, a truck in the off-road category, I would think generally, but due to it being an SUV, it does have to compete a little bit more for that category, so that actually makes it even better when it comes to things like free mode and stuff like that. For $250,000, you cannot go wrong with a Contender, and you should definitely buy one. Now, it is a removed vehicle, so you will have to buy it from another player, or of course you can get it through a dealership. So good luck. For some honorable mentions, we have starting off the Vapid Saddler for $35,000, the fastest utility class vehicle in GTA Online by a very long shot. So if you ever want to do utility class races, the Vapid Saddler is going to be your friend. The Vapid Saddler also comes in several different variants that you can steal off the street. There's some with huge racks in the back, there's some with headache rack, there's some with a little bull bar. There's all kinds of different variations of the saddler that you can get, so I would definitely recommend taking a look around before settling on whichever saddler that you do end up actually wanting to get. And of course, it is just available to be stolen off of the street, so if you see one that you like, you can go ahead and put insurance on it and put it in your garage. Saddler's a really cool truck, definitely a pretty underrated one. This is one that I do recommend picking up for sure. We also have the Declasse Yosemite Rancher, which is going to cost you $485,000 initially for the Declasse Yosemite purchase price, plus $700,000 at Benny's to upgrade it into the lifted off-road sort of variant, which is of course the Rancher. The Rancher has a good amount of customization and generally very good performance, whether it's on-road or off-road. It does have all-wheel drive and it does respond super quick to throttle inputs and things like that. It's pretty good at climbing, it's pretty good handling-wise, acceleration wise, climbing wise, everything like that. It is a very capable truck, I would say, and it's relatively affordable. You know, $1,185,000 is not the worst price to pay. Overall, it's a cool vehicle. And for the last honorable mention, the Benefactor Dubsta 6x6. The Dubsta 6x6 goes for $250,000, which is not a bad price to pay. It has nothing in the way of customization, but it is a really fun vehicle to have. Now, it's not very good in the traditional sense of like climbing and things of that nature, but if you want to drift around a six-wheeled Dubsta, this thing is absolutely awesome. It's a really cool truck in that regard. It almost feels weird to even call this thing a truck, but technically that's exactly what it is. This thing, similar to the Bravado Bison, is also a six-seater where you can have people sitting in the bed of it on the boxes there, but keep in mind, again, with this vehicle, they will go flying out if you do flip it over. So that is something to be mindful of. At number 1, we have the Canis Camacho for $345,000. For $345 grand, you will not find a better pickup truck or off-road vehicle in GTA Online. The price for performance that you're going to get with the Camacho is absolutely legendary. The customization is awesome. It's a very good looking vehicle. You can't go wrong with picking up a Canis Camacho. It is the best pickup truck in GTA Online by far. It feels weird to even call this thing a pickup truck, but I guess that's exactly what it is. Similar to the Dubsta 6x6, it just doesn't really feel like it is a pickup, but it certainly is. The customization's awesome, like I said, and performance-wise, you will not find a better vehicle for the price. In the off-road category, with 4 wheels, there's not really a better vehicle, at least price for performance-wise. So there you have it, guys. That's it for my picks for the top 10 pickup trucks in GTA Online. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you learned something, a like is of course appreciated. If not, dislike. Consider subscribing to my channel. If you guys are new, let me know what trucks you would like to see Rockstar add into GTA Online, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.